Hello there. Very nice box artwork, which is part of the attraction of me liking this kit, or I've been on the lookout for it on and off for many years. Now, I was given this kit by Matt Ball. We were talking about kits as usual, and I had something in my stash that he was pretty keen on having. So we did swapsies. I got what I wanted and he got what he wanted. So I don't make many cars, and I make even less videos on how I build them. And with cars, there's not a lot of room for any fudginess. You can't really escape. Any imperfections will stand out, unlike tanks or aeroplanes where you can get away with a few things. With cars, no. There's nowhere to hide. So unless it's from a manufacturer where all the panels and bodywork is going to be beautiful and fit fantastically, no. And this kit being Matchbox, well, you could super detail this, you could go to town with it, but I don't think it's worth it. The kit is what it is, and you need to build it as that. So I hope you like what I've done with the kit. One little caveat is that when I was taking the final photographs, I forgot to put the straps on. Straps that hold the straps that hold the cars down. So you're just gonna have to look at the photographs, imagine that one. So my apologies for that. So let's see how I coped and struggled with this kit. Thank you for watching. So let's start by taking a quick look around the box. And let's see what's inside the box. Now the stickers look okay, and hopefully I'll be able to use them. The paint guide shows mainly silver or aluminium. These wheels will come back to haunt me later on. Always read the instructions thoroughly. Something I can never do. We get a chrome frame, which I will have to deal with later. The rubbery bits. The only clear parts in the kit, or part. So what are you going to do with that, Greg? I'm going to fill it with household bleach. Why, Greg? It said it can clear off all that chrome off the plastic. So let's give it a go. But first I must add my PPE. Very important. Personal protection equipment. Now I've added some bleach, but I dare not add the whole bottle, otherwise my wife's going to kill me. So I've topped it up with a small amount of water. Now from what I've seen on other people's videos, the more you water this down, the longer it will take to clear the silver off the plastic. Here goes. So every now and then I'm agitating the plastic, which seems logical. So after a few hours it seems to have worked. Great. Now I had thought the plastic under that chrome would have been black, but grey it is. I've thoroughly cleaned off the residue bleach in warm soapy water with a soft brush. So next I need to replace those rubbery parts with some resin ones. This may be the last time you ever see me use this method. Hint, hint. It's time to embrace the future on the next build. I know I'm always late to the party. Better late than never. Sorry for being cryptic. So let's release the resin parts and see what they look like. Not bad, I'm happy with that. So I've made a few of them and cleaned the best ones up. The next issue is trying to improve these parts. We're halfway there with removing all that plating. But I need to try and add some definition to those spokes, somehow. Now I could clean up each spoke with a nice sharp scalpel blade, but I'll be here to the end of time with that mind-numbing task. There's got to be an easier way. So I thought about coming from behind. Grow up in the cheap seats. So by scraping the excess plastic from behind, I should in theory sharpen and make the spokes more dainty. Let's give it a go. Now I must be mindful that I've only got so much plastic to scrape off. I've just washed off all the swarf to see how I'm doing. So a before and an after. Well, it's better than it was. Just 3 more to do. So I finally got to the stage where I can release all the parts and clean them up. There, that didn't take long in YouTube world. I've started to assemble some of the parts, gearbox, engine block and so on. All these parts have been cleaned in some detergent and then rinsed with water, especially that bodywork. I'm making a start on the seat and the first thing I'm going to do is cut the headrest off. Then I wanted to add some interest to the seat by replacing the fabric effect with a cushion look. May not be accurate, but it would look aesthetically better, I think. For this, I'm going to use Milliput. Just added some water here. So I'm just getting the basic shape here first. Then when it's dry, I will sand and finesse the seat into shape. Now I was going to replace the exhaust stacks, which at the time seemed a good idea, more like a waste of time. These eventually went in the bin. So back to the seat, all sanded and cleaned up, ready for the paint job to bring it to life. We shall see. Next, I need to address the grille. The kit's part is not bad, plus it is a very good fit, but we do need to improve it, somehow. So I jumped straight in without thinking about what the end plan was. Nothing new there. Just keen to make a hole first. Now what? I thought I could use some of the many types of mesh I had to hand, but not only did I not have the right style of mesh, I had to form somehow those compound curves as well. Not an easy task. So I went back to basics and sanded the surface detail off and cut thin strips of plastic to create a mesh. The biggest task here is getting them evenly spaced. In the eye of the beholder, they say. Right, after all that rubbish, I think I can get on with building this kit. That would be nice. Let's start with the engine and gearbox. Next, all the suspension. These little parts here got in the way of the assembly, so I had to cut them loose. They won't be missed. Just making sure everything is plumb before the glue dries. Now just to say, as usual, I'm ignoring the manufacturer's build instructions. Nothing new there with me. I do this for ease of painting, although this process has its hurdles to jump over, which can be painful. So as I've just said, my first thought is about the ease of painting. Like, will I get away with gluing this on now, or am I going to have to leave it off? So after a few dry runs, I think I can glue the dry shafts onto the gearbox, so long as I cut the lugs off here, where they attach at the brake discs. See? Next to bodywork, and my first problem is the terrible fit of this part here. So I ended up cutting it up into two pieces and replacing the back piece with some plastic card. The shape was got from tracing around the rear part. The side tanks are taped in just to see if I have any fit issues with the lower bodywork. And guess what? Filler, anyone? So I'm going to take these 4 lugs off first to see if that helps. Yes, it helped a bit, but I also needed to chamfer the side of the tanks to eventually get the upper and lower parts to fit properly. Next, test fit of the nose, top cowls and rear part. Oh dear. No matter how I try and fudge, it's not going to fit without some surgery. This is a better fit. So with those issues noted, I've glued the back first and strengthened the joints with a mixture of superglue and talc. I then glued the nose, which was a better fit to the lower part of the body. So while that's all resting, I've added the horizontal strips to the grille. I cut across the vertical strips so I could inlay the horizontal strips. So all the bodywork gaps have been sorted. The wafer thin one at the rear was very tricky. So I've dry fitted all the sub-assemblies just to double check that I can fit all this without taking any of the paint off later. Let's glue the grille on. So the first thing we're going to do is to apply a primer coat to all these parts. This application mainly is to check the joints and any sanding marks left on the surface, especially to that silver plastic. So I've applied a coat of Tamiya lacquer grey, and of course there were all sorts of imperfections that showed up. There's a surprise. So with all the imperfections cleared up, I've applied a white to the outside surfaces and a black to all the internal surfaces. Next is to apply either one of these paints to all the parts all in one go. The toughest part here is knowing which one to use, polished or just straightforward aluminium. In the end, I applied the AK aluminium to all the parts. The transfers next, and as I said before, they look okay. So I'm going to apply the one at the rear first to see how that goes off camera. And if I can get the number 4 on over that complex surface, then the rest should be a breeze. Well, that was easy. It went down very well, went down a treat, no issues whatsoever. And here's how. Just belts and braces, but first I applied a thin coat of liquid decal film. Let it dry for a good 20 minutes, and then cut the carrier film as close as possible, making sure I was only cutting the carrier film and not the backing paper. Soaked in tepid water for around 10 seconds, and then all the cut film is brushed away from the transfer ready to apply. Just a little bit of microset is added to the surface. Then the number 4 is pressed onto the surface, and then just a little bit of microsol is applied on the top and left to do its work. Simple. It really was. So with the decals dry and any residue wiped away, I've applied a Tamiya acrylic gloss all over the surface. I'm starting to pick out all the details by brush. Now for the engine, I've used acrylic washes just to break up that overall aluminium colour. With everything dry, I've sharpened it all up, surface detail, with a Tamiya panel wash. So I'm ready to assemble all the sub-assemblies. Now I know this isn't going to be as simple as it sounds. You know when you get that foreboding feeling sometimes? I get it every day. The block to the subframe, and the frame to the lower body. It's all going very well. Now for the upper body. If only I can remember the technique I'd honed earlier. Fiddlesticks. What am I doing wrong? I wonder if I can get this to work with the engine loose inside. Nah. Let's try again. This time I've super glued the engine onto the frame. Haha, you don't mess with me, you bit of plastic. Squeeze! Squeeze! Does anybody have a crowbar? You're not beating me, even if I have to take all the paint off in doing so. There we go, I never had any doubt.
I've added a little bit of super glue at either ends of the joints, so it should be enough to hold these two parts together. Next, I need to make the wheels up, and here is where my heart skipped a beat. Looking at how they went together, it quickly dawned on me that the front wheels are narrower than the rear wheels. Oops. But I've only made chunky resin ones. So it's a bit late in the day now. I'm just hoping that this will not have a knock-on effect with the final assembly. I'll just crack on. Fingers crossed. Who really cares in the scheme of life? Let's have the seat. And then those round things. Now the wheels can move, or you can make them move if you want, but for me that's too much of a faff. I'm not a kid anymore. The windscreen with a few tiny blobs of PVA glue. So there we go, we got there in the end. Well, this kit surely was not meant for young'uns. Even if you weren't adding paint, this kit is dreadful. Or is it just that I found it hard to build? I don't know. But I've tried my best and this is it. So I'll take some pics and I hope you like the end results. So I want to thank you for watching and I hope to see you for the next video. See you later.